Yes. Welcome, everyone. Cannabis News. I'm your host, Joe Klare. It's September 12th, 2019. The show, as always, is presented to you by the Marijuana Times, as you see there if you're watching the video show. If not, well, trust me, it's the Marijuana Times. You can find us at marijuanatimes.org. Click the video tab there, and you'll be able to peruse past episodes of this show. A lot of great articles there as well. marijuanatimes.org. Today, talking about the AARP weighing in on cannabis. Also, the chief of police in Austin whining about the fact that you can't tell the difference between hemp and marijuana, and what a awful, unbearable problem this is that's compromising the safety, the very safety, I tell you, of the people of Austin. And the Trump administration has weighed in on the vaping controversy. I don't know what to call it. It's not an epidemic, obviously. The numbers aren't, to that level. It's a problem. It's a story. I go with controversy. I know it's probably not the best word for it, but hey, man, doing the best I can. If you can do better, we'll get you a show. See how you do. Seriously, the more is out there, the better. And if you do have a better phrase for it, tell me, and I will steal it. Before we get to all that, show Cannabis News is brought to you by NatureSide, nature-side.com, and their organic, all-natural pesticides. Grow safe and poison-free with NatureSide. You don't use banned pesticides. You want to be regulatory compliant in the state that you are growing in. If you're growing cannabis, there's a lot of regulations that you need to adhere to. NatureSide can help you. nature-side.com, proud sponsor of Cannabis News. First story by yours truly at marijuanatimes.org, where I mentioned you find many great articles. The AARP weighs in on cannabis. Of course, the AARP is a very large organization. In terms of circulation, they have the two biggest publications in the country. Say they have 38 million members, mostly older folks, obviously. AARP stands for Association of Americans Retired Persons or something along those lines. But now they've just shortened it. They don't do that anymore. They just say, hey, AARP, and people know what they're talking about. That's how big they are. Big and powerful organization. Anyway, on their website, they posted basically a complete guide to medical marijuana for older people. They have frequently asked questions. They talk about CBD, research, current research, what's going on, even recreational marijuana. They cover some of the basics of medical marijuana and what to look for. Because older people, they're not as, dare I say, hip as the rest of us. I don't know. Dare I say that? I guess I do. In any case, what I noticed about the guide itself is there wasn't any preaching. There wasn't any cherry-picked studies or conjecture telling you how awful marijuana is. It's just pretty straightforward. Even the recreational marijuana, which polls show a lot of older folks, 55 and over, 60 and over, are against legalization of recreational marijuana. Even in that area, basically all they have to say is a lot of older folks are using recreational marijuana. They're discovering marijuana for fun, or they're returning to marijuana for fun. And if you're one of those people, then here's what you should know about marijuana. It's all very straightforward. There's no, like I said, there's no preaching. There's no cherry-picked studies or 6 paragraphs about IQ points from a New Zealand study that's been discredited from 7 years ago. None of that. It's just here are the facts. Take it for what it is. Go about your day. Go medicate if you want to. AARP itself, they said in a statement that's included in this guide, a quote, in March, the AARP Board of Directors approved a policy supporting the medical use of marijuana for older adults in states that have legalized it. In other words, they don't agree with the federal government that it should be illegal. In the states where it's legal, they say, hey, you should be able to use it because your state has decided that issue. The decision was based on the growing body of research suggesting marijuana may be helpful in treating certain medical conditions and symptoms. The policy also notes that decisions related to the use of medical marijuana should be made between a patient and a healthcare provider, and appropriately balanced clinical evidence of benefit and harm, the patient's preferences and values, and any laws that may apply. I think it should be between the healthcare provider and the patient on whether or not they should use medical marijuana. What a novel idea. I can't believe nobody's thought of that before. You should do that. But that's great. And, as far as education, that's a massive massive thing. You know, a lot of older folks who maybe didn't even know anything about marijuana. Now they know more, at least, thanks to AARP. Thank you, AARP. This next story is the Austin police chief that I told you about. It's from KVUE.com in Austin, Texas. He's bemoaning the fact that law enforcement can't tell the difference between hemp and marijuana, and this is a great problem. It's an issue of the very safety of the people of Austin.
Austin Police Chief Brian Manley says officers should keep enforcing the law regarding low-level marijuana possession, even though prosecutors say they are refusing most of those pot cases.
The KV defenders find it's leading to different policies in police departments across Central Texas. Tony Plahetsky is here to explain. Tony?
Mike and Terry, the chief is going on the record, even as some Austin City Council members have set a hearing for next week to discuss marijuana enforcement and really whether the city should be enforcing that law at all. Chief Manley says that he does not think it is in the city's best interest and in the best interest of safety to quit arresting or citing people who have misdemeanor amounts of pot. He says he thinks doing so could allow the demand for pot to increase, which he says often brings other related criminal activity.
If we take a stance where we do not enforce, then I believe that we are not keeping our city as safe as we can, because again, as the supply and the demand goes, we can expect more home invasion type robberies for people trying to steal each other's drug stash or...
Okay, so here's the thing. He says a couple things here. We'll start with that. The notion that having marijuana and having it in your home makes you more liable to get robbed. That can be said about any valuable whatsoever. We're going to ban diamonds. We're going to start arresting people for diamonds because having diamonds makes them more liable to be robbed. And by the way, legalization brings the prices down and makes marijuana less valuable, less value to robbers. See, what all of this leads to is that we should legalize because these problems can be alleviated with legalization. It brings down the price. Don't got to worry about those home invasions, all these home invasions that are happening because of weed. You don't have to worry about any of that. So, and the problem of the hemp and the marijuana, you can't tell the difference. It's alleviated with legalization because you look at it, you say, hey, is this hemp or marijuana? It doesn't matter. They're both legal. Anyway, he's got more problems with this notion. They're going to stop arresting people for marijuana.
the money or other associated violence that comes with the drug trade.
All that violence associated with the drug trade comes from prohibition, which he wants to continue. But his thinking is that continuing prohibition and the violence that comes with it is going to alleviate the violence that comes with prohibition.
This discussion comes after a change in state law that legalized the production of hemp. The only problem is that crime labs don't yet have the ability to tell the difference between legal hemp and illegal marijuana.
Such a shame.
Chief Manley says it is possible that law enforcement could come up with a way to do so in the next few months when the cases could still be prosecuted.
Yeah. You know what they're going to do is they're going to spend a bunch of money for the testing equipment in a state that has backlogged rape kits. We talked about that. It was an article a few weeks ago. They have backlogged rape kits. I would think that any money earmarked for telling the difference between hemp and marijuana should maybe be earmarked towards testing the backlogged rape kits and maybe finding rapists as opposed to people who have some plant matter on them. On the one hand, we have people with flour in a baggie or a container in their pocket. On the other hand, we have a often violent, gross, horrific violation of someone else's body and mind. I don't know. Which one should get priority? Am I nuts here? This is like the third or fourth time I've talked about this in the last couple weeks. Am I nuts that I think that one is much more important than the other? To be clear, because I guess some people won't know. Some people, the fact that people equate these two and think that we can get funding for one and we won't give that funding to the rape kits. First of all, that's gross and offensive. In any case, there are people apparently who think that they are equatable. I would think that all that money should go to backlog rape kits. Then once we've cleared all the rape kits away and we're up to date on that, to the point where, hey, maybe when the crime happens and they take the rape kit, maybe it can be analyzed, I don't know, that night? Within a couple hours? Isn't that where we want to get to? There's no backlog. They just come in, they're tested, bam, that's it. But no, as long as there's some of those, we're also going to test some of this marijuana and this hemp because it's very important that we tell the difference. It's very important. But it's not. And I hate feeling like I'm crazy for believing that it's not, because I know damn well, excuse my French, I know damn well it's not the same. The rape is much worse than having weed in your pocket. That shouldn't be a controversial statement. Rape is much, much worse, infinitely worse than having weed in your pocket. I guess there's some people in this world that disagree with that. They think they're level. They're, we put some money for one, put some money for the other one. I don't get that. I think that's wrong. Oh well. Who am I? Who am I? As I've said many times before, I'm just a lowly video cast podcast guy, dude. Anyway, this last story from Newsweek. Is vaping CBD safe? Trump's flavored e-cig ban leaves out marijuana despite illnesses linked to cannabis products. First of all, it's a dumb title. Most of these instances have been linked to THC vapes and not CBD vapes. In any case, I'm glad the Trump administration, the White House, has finally weighed in on this issue. I think we all can agree that we were lost. We were lost without direction from our leader and from the apparatus that's supposed to make these decisions for us. The White House and the federal government. See there, if you click the link, you can see the little video of Trump pretending that he knows anything about what's going on. He does talk about teens and e-cigarettes and things like that, and that's a whole other issue. Most of these cases have been from bootleg THC vape cartridges, and a couple of people have said, well, they got it in a legal dispensary, which they may or may not have. I mean, if they had receipts or whatever, that's one thing. If they didn't, well, they may be fibbing a little bit to protect somebody. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. The point is, the legalization would alleviate this problem. It would take the vapes out of the black market and put them in the regulated market, where everybody tells me that the regulation is fantastic. Everything has to be tightly regulated and restricted. But then, there's some of these vape cartridges out here, and they're like, oh, well, prohibition's fine. That's cool. Just let them make, the little cartridges and put them in the packages and sell them in their, their basement or whatever. That's fine. Which is it? Do we need regulation, or do we leave prohibition in place? You got to pick one. In any case, now that the response from the Trump administration is that they're going to direct the FDA to take all the non-tobacco flavors of e-cigarettes from the U.S. market in 30 days, and then companies will be able to reintroduce flavored products, but only after they submit a formal application and receive approval from the FDA. So they're putting this under the purview of the FDA. We will not stand by idly as these products become an on-ramp to combustible cigarettes or nicotine addiction for a generation of youth, according to Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar. If that's what you're trying to address, prohibition obviously is not going to address that. It's going to push these things, push the e-cigarettes and the flavored e-cigarettes to the black market, and they will become less safe. And if that's, and they're using the vaping thing as an excuse to do that, and it makes no sense because neither one is connected. But of course, cannabis is illegal, so it's not like he's going to say, well, the FDA is going to look into these vape cartridges, because they can't. Because under federal law, it's illegal. All of it's illegal. So the notion that they're going to fix this problem by addressing another problem, and addressing that problem wrong as well, the problem of teens and nicotine, prohibiting that is going to push that to the black market. It's not going to reduce use, just like it didn't reduce use of marijuana, the 8 decades of prohibition that we were under. So to fix one problem, they're going to not fix another problem that's not related to that problem. And at the end of the day, they're all going to pat themselves on the back and act like they did something when they didn't do anything. What they should be thinking about is legalization. And it's not even the regulations that necessarily do it. It's having your business out in the open. I'm not one of those people that believes that, it has to be government that does this. There's standards and groups and seals of approval, all things that can be done out of government purview. If you have this seal from this this group of a bunch of companies or whatever, it means something, and it means you can go by that seal. If you find out you can't, well, then that seal loses value, and so on and so forth. Because the government gets things wrong a lot as well. So there's no... I'm not saying that the government has to take control of this. What I'm saying is the government needs to allow all of this to be brought out of the black market into a legal market. I'm not saying there has to be a government agent there testing every vape vial. I'm just saying let them become legal. And watch what happens. Watch what happens when they're legal. They're no longer breaking the law. They have they have pride in what they're doing. They're building a business. They're building a brand. They're building something for their kids. Whatever. Watch how quick standards rise, quality rises. But no, they're just going to ban e-cigs and then bring them back out later. Like I said, they'll act like they did something because that's what government officials do. They do something, whether it fixes anything or not, it usually doesn't. It doesn't matter. They can tell you that, hey, I did something. Look at me. I'm awesome. I save lives. But in reality, you didn't do much at all. In any case, that's it for us. Thanks everybody. We're here 5 days a week on Cannabis News. Thank you to Natureside, nature-side.com, and their organic, all-natural pesticides. You can find us on YouTube, Vimeo, Apple Podcasts, many great places, marijuanatimes.org as well. Thank you for watching and listening today, and we'll see you next time right here on Cannabis News.